Picture this. It's a Tuesday morning, just like any other. You're rushing to grab your latte, scrolling through your phone, when suddenly the world seems to hit the pause button. Airlines are grounded, banks are offline, and even your favorite online store is telling you to try again later. What in the digital doomsday is happening? Well, my friends, that's the sound of the internet collectively stubbing its toe on a major outage. And at the center of this digital drama is a name you might not expect: CrowdStrike. So, who is this CrowdStrike? And why should we care about their digital hiccup? Well, imagine the internet as a wild, untamed jungle teeming with digital predators lurking in every corner. CrowdStrike is like the park ranger, the fearless protector keeping the cyber lions and malware mosquitoes at bay. They provide cybersecurity solutions to businesses and organizations around the world, acting as a digital shield against hackers, viruses, and other online threats. Their technology is used by some of the biggest names in the business, from Fortune 500 companies to government agencies. We're talking about the entities that control our finances, our travel plans, and even our healthcare records. So, when CrowdStrike sneezes, the digital world catches a cold. The impact of the CrowdStrike outage was swift and far-reaching. It was like someone had cut the internet's power cord, plunging millions into a digital dark age. Businesses large and small were impacted, forced to scramble for alternative solutions.
Imagine being stuck in an airport terminal, your vacation plans hanging in the balance.
But it wasn't just the travel industry feeling the heat. Banks were forced to limit online and mobile banking services. The outage sent ripples through every corner of the digital economy. To grasp this digital meltdown, delve into CrowdStrike's world with its sophisticated cybersecurity arsenal. Imagine a digital fortress, manned by cyber ninjas. At its heart is the Falcon platform, a cloud-based digital immune system. It detects and neutralizes stealthy cyber threats. CrowdStrike also uses threat intelligence, gathering intel on hacking techniques. This helps them stay ahead in the digital cat and mouse game, deploying countermeasures to keep clients safe. Remember those endpoints we talked about earlier? Those digital doorways where hackers love to sneak in and wreak havoc? Well, CrowdStrike has made it their mission to guard those entry points with unwavering vigilance. Their endpoint security solutions act like digital bouncers, checking the credentials of every user and application trying to access the network. Imagine a nightclub with a strict door policy, where only those with the proper identification and authorization are allowed entry. That's essentially how CrowdStrike's endpoint protection works. They use a combination of behavioral analysis, machine learning, and artificial intelligence to identify and block suspicious activity at the device level, preventing malware from gaining a foothold and spreading throughout the network. But it's not just about keeping the bad guys out. CrowdStrike also focuses on protecting sensitive data from falling into the wrong hands. They offer data loss prevention solutions that monitor and control the movement of sensitive information within an organization, preventing accidental leaks and intentional data theft. Think of it as a digital vault, safeguarding your most valuable assets from prying eyes. They use encryption, access controls, and other security measures to ensure that only authorized personnel can access confidential information. So, even if a hacker manages to breach the perimeter, they'll hit a brick wall when they try to make off with your precious data. Now let's talk about the industries that rely heavily on CrowdStrike services, the ones that felt the most significant tremors when the cybersecurity giant stumbled. At the top of the list we have the financial sector, those guardians of our hard-earned cash. Banks, insurance companies, and investment firms all rely on CrowdStrike to protect their systems and customer data from cyber attacks, which are becoming increasingly sophisticated and frequent. Then there's the healthcare industry, where data breaches can have life or death consequences. Hospitals, clinics, and pharmaceutical companies trust CrowdStrike to keep patient records confidential and medical devices secure from cyber threats. Imagine the chaos if hackers gained access to sensitive medical equipment or held patient data hostage for ransom. Government agencies, from defense departments to intelligence services, also rely on CrowdStrike to protect national security secrets and critical infrastructure from cyber espionage and sabotage. And let's not forget about the retail sector, where online shopping has become the norm. E-commerce giants and small businesses alike depend on CrowdStrike to secure their websites, protect customer payment information, and prevent fraud. These are just a few examples of the many industries that rely on CrowdStrike to keep their operations running smoothly and their data secure. When CrowdStrike experiences an outage, it's like cutting off the oxygen supply to these vital sectors of the economy. So, how did a single cybersecurity glitch snowball into a global meltdown, leaving airlines grounded, banks offline, and millions of people digitally stranded? Well, it all boils down to interconnectedness, the intricate web of dependencies that link our digital world together. When a critical system like CrowdStrike goes down, it triggers a ripple effect, disrupting services and operations across multiple industries. Think of it like a domino effect. One domino falls, then another and another until the entire structure collapses. In this case, CrowdStrike's outage was the initial domino, setting off a chain reaction that disrupted air travel, financial transactions, healthcare services, and countless other aspects of our daily lives. The airlines, for example, rely on CrowdStrike to secure their booking systems, passenger manifests, and ground operations. When CrowdStrike's services went offline, airlines were left blindsided, unable to issue boarding passes, track baggage, or even communicate effectively with their own staff. The result? Global gridlock, with flights grounded and passengers stranded in airports around the world. But it wasn't just the airlines feeling the pain. Banks, too, rely heavily on CrowdStrike to protect their online banking platforms, ATM networks, and payment processing systems. When CrowdStrike experienced its outage, many banks were forced to limit or even suspend online and mobile banking services, leaving customers unable to access their accounts, transfer funds, or make purchases. Let's start with the airlines, shall we? Nothing says digital disaster like being stuck on the tarmac dreaming of tiny bags of pretzels.
When CrowdStrike's systems went offline, it was like hitting the emergency brake on global air travel. Airlines couldn't check in passengers, issue boarding passes, or track flights.
Imagine thousands of passengers crammed into airport terminals, their travel plans evaporating. Families on vacation faced sleeping on airport floors, navigating lost luggage claims.
Business travelers frantically searched for alternative flights, only to find everything booked.
And those stuck on planes with dwindling snack supplies and endless delays. The CrowdStrike outage showed how reliant airlines are on digital systems, with cascading consequences. If there's one thing that rivals the stress of air travel, it's losing access to your hard-earned cash. That's the nightmare scenario that unfolded when the CrowdStrike outage crippled the financial sector.
Banks, those supposed bastions of stability, found themselves locked out, unable to process transactions or access customer data.
Imagine you're at the grocery store, your cart full, and your debit card is declined. You try again, same result. Suddenly you're holding up the line, sweating, trying to explain.
Online banking platforms went dark. ATM machines flashed error messages, and financial institutions scrambled to reassure customers.
The CrowdStrike outage exposed the vulnerability of our financial systems, highlighting the potential for chaos. While airlines and banks grappled with their own digital dilemmas, the healthcare industry faced its own set of challenges, as the CrowdStrike outage rippled through hospitals, clinics, and medical facilities worldwide. Suddenly, patient portals went offline, electronic health records became inaccessible, and medical devices, those digital lifelines that monitor vital signs and deliver life-saving treatments, blinked ominously, their functionality compromised by the disruption. Imagine the anxiety of a patient waiting for critical test results, only to be told that the system is down and no one knows when it will be back online. Or the frustration of a doctor unable to access a patient's medical history, forced to make life or death decisions with limited information. But the consequences went far beyond inconvenience. Surgeries were postponed, appointments were rescheduled, and patients requiring urgent care faced agonizing delays as healthcare providers struggled to cope with the digital blackout. The CrowdStrike outage exposed the healthcare industry's increasing reliance on technology and the potential dangers of entrusting critical patient data and medical devices to systems vulnerable to disruption. E-commerce at a standstill. Shopping carts abandoned, deliveries delayed. For many of us, online shopping is less of a pastime and more of a way of life. But on that fateful day, the CrowdStrike outage brought the e-commerce world to a screeching halt, leaving millions of online shoppers staring at empty shopping carts and wondering if their packages would ever arrive. Imagine this, you've finally found that rare vinyl record you've been searching for, the one that will complete your collection and make you the envy of audiophiles everywhere. You add it to your cart, trembling with anticipation, only to be met with an error message. Transaction cannot be processed at this time. You refresh the page, your heart sinking as you watch the add to cart button morph into a cruel taunt, sold out. But the disruption went far beyond missed shopping opportunities. Online retailers, their websites rendered useless by the outage, watched helplessly as potential sales evaporated. Delivery companies, unable to access tracking information or process orders, faced a logistical nightmare, their warehouses overflowing with undelivered packages. The CrowdStrike outage demonstrated the fragility of the e-commerce ecosystem, highlighting the potential for chaos when the digital infrastructure that underpins online shopping crumbles. Beyond the headlines, the human cost of digital disruptions. While the headlines focused on the economic impact of the CrowdStrike outage, the real story unfolded in the countless individual experiences of frustration, anxiety, and inconvenience. It was a stark reminder that behind every disrupted flight, every failed transaction, every delayed delivery, there are real people whose lives are thrown into turmoil by these digital disruptions. There was the elderly woman, unable to access her online banking account, forced to rely on the kindness of strangers to pay for her groceries. The single mother, stranded at the airport with her young children, their vacation dreams dashed by the outage. The small business owner forced to close up shop for the day, losing valuable income and worrying about how they would pay their employees. These personal stories, often overlooked in the rush to quantify the economic fallout, underscored the human cost of our reliance on technology. They served as a powerful reminder that in our increasingly digital world, we must strive to build systems that are not only efficient and innovative, but also resilient and equitable, ensuring that no one is left behind when the inevitable disruptions occur. Terminal tales, when flying became a grounded experience. Picture this, you're at the airport, buzzing with pre-vacation excitement. Maybe you're headed to Disneyland, or it's a business trip. Either way, you're about to become intimately familiar with the airport floor thanks to the CrowdStrike outage. Flights are delayed, then delayed again. Families huddle around dwindling phone batteries, desperately searching for updates. Businessmen pace like caged tigers, important deals slipping through their fingers. The CrowdStrike outage turned air travel into a comedy of errors, a testament to the unpredictable nature of technology and human resilience.
Remember cash? That paper stuff we used to exchange for goods and services. During the CrowdStrike outage, cash became king again.
ATMs became the hottest spots in town, with lines snaking around the block. People who hadn't carried cash in years were forced to beg, borrow, or barter.
The stories of cash-strapped chaos were both comical and concerning. The CrowdStrike outage served as a stark reminder that while we may live in an increasingly cashless society, cash still holds a certain power.
Remember the good old days when doctors made house calls? During the CrowdStrike outage, the healthcare industry got a taste of life before digital dominance.
Hospitals were thrust back into the analog age, forced to rely on paper charts and phone calls. Patient portals went dark, telehealth appointments were cancelled, and doctors scrambled to access critical patient information.
The stories from the front lines of healthcare were both alarming and oddly amusing.
Medical students, immersed in the digital world, suddenly found themselves in an episode of ER from the 90s. The CrowdStrike outage exposed the healthcare industry's dependence on technology, but also highlighted the ingenuity and resilience of healthcare professionals.
Oh, the humanity! The CrowdStrike outage didn't discriminate. It affected everyone, even those who find solace in online shopping. Imagine this. You're browsing Amazon, your virtual shopping cart overflowing with goodies. You click Proceed to Checkout, and suddenly, the screen goes blank. Across the digital landscape, the sound of abandoned shopping carts echoed like the mournful cries of disappointed shoppers. The CrowdStrike outage reminded us that the instant gratification of online shopping is a delicate dance between technology, logistics, and consumerism. The lighter side of disaster #CrowdStrike outage memes for days. Amidst the chaos, a glimmer of humor emerged. The internet responded to the CrowdStrike outage with a collective chuckle, churning out memes and witty observations. Social media feeds were flooded with hilarious takes on the outage, from relatable memes to satirical news reports. The CrowdStrike outage reminded us that even in the face of digital adversity, humor and resilience can help us weather the storm. CrowdStrike's counterstrike battling back from the brink. The internet's on fire and everyone's blaming the cybersecurity company. But to their credit, they didn't just bury their heads in their servers. They went into full-on crisis mode, their team of engineers working tirelessly to identify the root cause of the outage. Imagine a scene straight out of a tech thriller, lines of code flashing across screens, keyboards clicking furiously. They called in their best and brightest, those digital wizards who speak in binary and dream in algorithms. Slowly but surely, they started to piece together the puzzle, identifying the culprit behind the digital meltdown. Picking up the pieces, restoring order to the digital chaos. With the root cause identified, CrowdStrike focused on restoring their systems. They worked around the clock, patching systems, rerouting traffic, and performing digital CPR on the internet. Slowly, services began to flicker back to life. Airlines issued boarding passes, banks dispensed cash, and online shoppers rejoiced. The digital world, battered but not broken, was slowly returning to normalcy. Ah, the blame game. As soon as the dust settled, everyone started pointing fingers. CrowdStrike took the brunt of the criticism. Politicians called for investigations and industry experts debated the company's security protocols. Some argued that the real culprit was our over-reliance on technology. The CrowdStrike outage served as a wake-up call, a reminder that even in our digital world, there's no such thing as perfect security. So, what did we learn from the great CrowdStrike outage of 24? Some might argue that we learned nothing new, that the outage was just another reminder of the inherent risks of our digital dependence. Others might say that the outage forced us to confront our digital vulnerabilities and start thinking more seriously about backup plans and digital resilience. Perhaps the most important lesson is the need for greater transparency and accountability in the tech industry. The CrowdStrike outage presented an opportunity for growth, a chance to learn from our mistakes and build a more resilient digital future. So there we have it, folks. The CrowdStrike outage, a cautionary tale of digital dependence and technological vulnerability. It's easy to marvel at the interconnectedness of it all, but the outage reminded us that this digital convenience comes at a price. It's like building a house of cards on a fault line. The challenge is to embrace the benefits of the digital world without becoming enslaved by its fragility. It's about building redundancy into our systems and diversifying our digital dependencies. In the aftermath of the outage, CrowdStrike became synonymous with digital vulnerability. But is it fair to lay the blame solely at their feet? Were they the architects of the chaos or merely the unfortunate scapegoats in a larger story about the fragility of our digital infrastructure? It's tempting to point fingers, but CrowdStrike's story is also a cautionary tale about the dangers of putting all our digital eggs in one basket. When a single company becomes a critical point of failure, it exposes a systemic vulnerability. Perhaps CrowdStrike's legacy will be a catalyst for change in the way we design and regulate critical digital infrastructure. So, what have we learned from this digital odyssey? Maybe it's time to invest in a good old-fashioned alarm clock. And perhaps we should all make a pact to print out our boarding passes just in case. Beyond the practical takeaways, the CrowdStrike outage reminded us of our humanity. Despite our digital dependencies, we are still capable of adapting, finding humor in chaos, and forging connections with each other.